Hey, it's Kyle here, and today I'll be reviewing the Season 3 finale of The Mandalorian, The Return. This review will include spoilers, so if you haven't watched the episode yet, please go watch it and then come back and watch this review. And before I get started with my thoughts for the episode, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. I really would appreciate the support. And be sure to like this video. Again, that means a lot to me as well. So let's get started talking about The Return. I'll say going into this episode, a lot of my predictions or what I kind of was thinking, like, this might be some stuff that they do or some story points they might hit upon. For the most part, my predictions were way off. I was wrong about everything. I enjoyed this episode, but it was not what I was expecting, and it might be my least favorite of the season finale so far. So kind of touch on some of my predictions that I guess I got wrong. One, I was very convinced after last week's episode that in the finale, Din's helmet would come off, and I actually assumed we would get him taken to interrogation / torture, and then he'd be rescued from there. I didn't really expect him to be rescued along the way. I thought it'd be a big moment to see him unmasked again for the first time this season. That didn't happen, and I would say that was probably one disappointment of the season, that I was kind of hoping he would move past feeling the need to be masked the entire time and have his helmet on. And he wasn't unmasked the entire season, so that was one little, I guess, character development point I was hoping for Din this season that didn't happen. So I am a little bit disappointed that didn't take place. On the other side, on the rescue front, kind of one thing I was expecting to happen, that Grogu would be heavily involved, and he was. So at least I got that Grogu prediction correct. A couple other predictions that I got way off. I was expecting some sort of big character reveal in this episode relating to either the Shadow Council or something that would tie in with the upcoming Ahsoka series. So specifically, I wasn't necessarily sure that Thrawn would show up, but I was maybe expecting some forces loyal to Thrawn to show up and maybe contribute to Gideon's defeat. That didn't happen. One thing I was thinking as this episode went along and as it ended, I think one thing that's going to hurt the reaction to this episode is that Star Wars Celebration had just happened. We saw all this huge news. We saw this amazing trailer for Ahsoka. We kind of knew that the Mandalorian and Ahsoka obviously are connected, and this is the thing that's leading into Ahsoka. So with everything that was showed in that trailer, I think a lot of people were kind of expecting some sort of big event in this episode or an end credit scene to really lead directly into Ahsoka. Similarly, how the Book of Boba Fett had a big, end credit scene in the Mandalorian to kind of tease that series. So either an end credit scene that shows something with Ahsoka, maybe she shows up, or we get a little glimpse of Thrawn. And that had happened. And I think if Star Wars Celebration had happened after this finale, I'm not sure if many people would have been expecting as big of things in the finale, but like the fact that it was the week after Celebration is like, oh, maybe they saved something for this finale and they didn't spoil the news at Celebration because they knew it was going to be in the finale. And that wasn't the case at all. So I think maybe the Ahsoka trailer coming out got people so hyped up that might have set people's expectations insanely high for this finale. And I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be disappointed that it wasn't some sort of big reveal. I know as a huge Thrawn fan, I did have a little bit of a hope that Thrawn might make a little appearance in this episode. I didn't really think that was going to happen. I kind of thought there might be a better chance that Pelion would show up, and I am a huge fan of that character. I was so excited to see him last week on the Shadow Council, so I was maybe expected him to kind of show up, but we didn't get that, so that was a little disappointing. But again, I think that maybe was us getting our hopes up too much after the events of Star Wars Celebration. The other thing that I was very wrong on, kind of based on last week's episode, and I know a lot of people were speculating on this, including myself, that last week's episode was titled The Spies. So I think a lot of people interpret that as like, oh, there's a spy amongst the Mandalorians, so we're going to get somebody that's going to attempt to betray Bo and Din. Some people were expecting it maybe to be the armor. Some people were expecting maybe those random Mandalorians that ran into the surface of Mandalore, maybe they were spies. Maybe somebody in Bo's group was a spy. I know I kind of wondered if Axe was. But nothing was ever kind of revealed in that regard to being somebody being a double agent against the Mandalorians. So I think that ended up being a lot of people just misinterpreting that title last week and believing that meant there was a spy amongst the Mandalorians. And at least from this episode, there wasn't. I'm assuming if there was, they would have done something to help Gideon and his forces win instead of basically let them be destroyed. So those were our predictions. Like I said, I almost got everything wrong about this episode. I will say, before I kind of talk about the episode a little bit more, in a lot of ways, this episode felt more like a series finale than a season finale. You know, when the episode ends, Din and Grogu are in a very good spot. They've like finally found peace. They have a home. It seems like their path is set for them. And to me, like this would have been a really nice way to wrap up the series. But obviously, the series is not wrapping up. I mean, the Mandoverse is still going strong, so we know we're going to see Mando and the Grogu again. So again, this is the first time we had a season finale where it didn't really clearly set up like, oh, here's what this is immediately leading into. So a little bit of a weird choice. Again, I was, after that last image of Din and Grogu sitting there kind of chilling, I was expecting like, oh, there's going to be some sort of end credit scene. It might not involve them, but it's something that's going to set up like, this is what's coming next. And we didn't get that. So that, again, was a little surprising to me. And I think that will probably disappoint a lot of people because I think a lot of people were expecting that big thing that didn't happen. So now I want to kind of touch on some elements of this finale, the return, that I did enjoy. I'm not going to go story beat by story beat throughout the episode, but just kind of hit upon some highlights that I really enjoyed. And first off, maybe my favorite part of the episode, or development that I really enjoyed, was the destruction of the Darksaber. I think a lot of this obviously season revolved around what it means to be a Mandalorian, how there's different ways to be a Mandalorian, figuring out ways to unite the Mandalorians. And in a lot of ways, like a feeling has been why these traditions have been holding them back. So like the armor kind of being open to working together with other Mandalorians that don't follow the way was a big development in this season. But obviously another tradition that in some ways was kind of holding them back was the Darksaber. That prevented Bo from a long time from attempting to recapture Mandalore. There was so much tension around the Darksaber. So that part of the episode when Bo is fighting Gideon, which was an amazing fight scene, I absolutely love that scene, where he destroys the Darksaber, is amazing. I was very happy to see that happen. Although the Darksaber is a very cool weapon, I'll miss seeing it. I think that is a great development for the Mandalorians in some way that kind of sets them free from like, oh, it's our ruler's not just the person who randomly holds this sword. It's the person that's best fit to be our ruler, or the people best suited to be our ruler. So I was very happy to see that development happen. Since I already talked about it, I'll touch on it. The fight scenes in this episode I really enjoyed, especially the hand-to-hand combat. So Din fighting the various troopers, Grogu getting involved, Bo fighting Gideon, and then Din getting involved. Gideon's suit is amazing. That entire fight sequence right there was maybe my favorite part of the episode. Really enjoyed that a lot. I would say the one fight scene that maybe didn't really hit for me, really honestly, was the all the Mandalorians and the troopers kind of fighting in the air with their jetpacks, because it was so chaotic you really couldn't see a whole lot of it. So that part didn't really satisfy me as much as seeing that hand-to-hand combat between Gideon, Bo, and Din. Everything with Grogu in this episode I really enjoyed a lot. Nothing to complain about that. Grogu's always amazing. So all that stuff was very, very cool. The one part at the end where Grogu is looking at the waters and you see a glimpse of the Mythosaur, at that point I was like, oh, the Mythosaur is going to rise up now because Grogu is summoning him. That did happen. So that was something I got excited for right then. Is like, that happened. It's like, oh, that's a little disappointing. But okay. Maybe that was an unrealistic expectation in that moment. But everything with that ceremony there, and I'm kind of glad then, I was afraid when Din was basically adopting him, that then there's, all right, no, he has to put a helmet on or something like that. And that was not mentioned at all. So I enjoyed that. I will say I liked a lot Din going in to the New Republic base and basically volunteering to be a gun for hire, but specifically for the New Republic and only in cases that he's interested in, specifically in regard to like the Imperial remnant. It's clear now, like Din's decided, like, all right, this Empire stuff is, I'm not going to sit back and just be a bystander anymore. I am going to take the fight to what's left of the Empire. So I love that. Love we finally got a payoff to the IG-11 storyline that was kind of debuted at the beginning of the season. That storyline, I think, to me was a little hit and miss. I'm still not sure if that was the best way to do that, because it felt like it was just something that was dropped for a while and then just randomly picked up towards the end of the season. But seeing IG-11 as the new Marshal of Navarro was really cool. I enjoyed that part a lot. And I loved seeing that Navarro is already recovering from that pirate attack. So that was very, very cool. I forgot to mention regarding the fight scene, the Praetorians was awesome. They were amazing, their fight scenes in the last 2 episodes. So love seeing those. I was expecting and maybe hoping for a little bit more aerial combat between the Imperial ships and the Mandalorian fleet, but instead the Mandalorians had, decided to launch a full-scale invasion on the ground. So you missed out a little bit of that. So I wouldn't mind a little bit of aerial combat there, but we got some cool fight scenes, so I'm not going to complain too much. I'll say I was not expecting the capital ship for the Mandalorian fleet to be rammed into the Imperial base. That was something I wasn't expecting, and clearly the Imperials were not expecting as well. So that was a really cool moment. And honestly, after that happened, when the end credits hit, I actually thought the end credit scene would be the Shadow Council having another meeting and then kind of being updated on like, oh, Gideon's been destroyed, all his forces have been destroyed, and that's when, Pillion or Thrawn or something like that would tease like, Thrawn is ready now or something like that. That would have been a really cool moment. But again, something I was disappointed about, but again, still enjoyed this episode. So overall, like I said, I enjoyed this episode. Probably my least favorite of the season finales, but still a good episode. I didn't hate it. I have a feeling this episode's going to get really negative reaction online. So if you feel different from me, I completely understand. But for me, still an enjoyable episode. Just not the best finale in my book. So let me know in the comment section below, what did you think of the finale, The Return? Again, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. If you have yet, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate the support. Thanks for watching. I'll see you the next time, and may the Force be with you.